Hello, welcome to Epicenter Bitcoin, the show which talks about the technologies, projects, and startups driving decentralization and the global cryptocurrency revolution. My name is Sébastien Couture, and thanks so much for joining us on our special episode today with the guys from CoinTelegraph. Hi, guys.
Hey, how's it going?
Great to be here.
So we're joined by Alan Scott and Ian DeMartino. Alan is the chief editor at CoinTelegraph, and Ian is a freelance writer. And so today's show, we'll talk about different things, but it's going to be a little meta, I got to say, because we are going to talk about a lot about content production, different ways that we can monetize that content. We are sort of in an era where a lot of new things are happening within the Bitcoin ecosystem that are sort of creating a new path for media, and I mean that in the sense that we're sort of developing new models by which we're going to be able to run media outlets. And so these are questions that here at Epicenter Bitcoin we're definitely thinking of, and also CoinTelegraph. So I'm really excited about today's conversation and to really dive into sort of like Bitcoin media, but also like the new types of models and business structures that we can imagine in this new ecosystem. Brian is not here today, unfortunately. I really would like for him to be here as well, but he's traveling, unfortunately, so he couldn't be with us. But I'm sure he's here in presence. So could you guys briefly introduce yourselves individually?
Yeah, sure. I guess I'll go first. So my name is Alan Scott. I'm the chief editor at CoinTelegraph, and I've only got into Bitcoin pretty late, back in March. But ever since then, we at CoinTelegraph have grown very rapidly, expanded our media group, and we're now hoping to get better and better.
Yeah, Ian DeMartino. I started writing about Bitcoin, I guess, in January for general tech site, but joined up CoinTelegraph. I think it was also in March, and started getting paid in Bitcoin then, and it's been kind of a rocket ship ride ever since.
And Ian, I believe you're pretty much living on Bitcoin only now, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, I have 3 roommates, and they get paid in fiat, but I mean, I pay my part of the bills and everything, with the money I make from CoinTelegraph and Bitcoin.
Cool. That's really. I mean, it's good to hear that. I guess it's kind of nice to hear that that you're able to make your full-time living living off Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, and writing too, which has always been sort of my dream. So it's a nice combo.
Cool.
I gotta dump a lot, during rent times, but I always try to spend a little bit of overstock and give a little bit away before I do that, and try to hold as much as I can.
Cool. Well, I guess I'd like to start off by talking about CoinTelegraph. I mean, personally, for me, since we started this partnership, I mean, before we started this partnership, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, CoinTelegraph is sort of a black box to me. I mean, it's out there. It's definitely one of the most well-known Bitcoin news sites, and you guys put out great content. Have a lot of talented writers there that are doing content for you guys.
Thank you.
But you're welcome. But I think to a lot of people, there are questions around like, how did it get started? Who's behind it? What's the organization look like? And so I'd like to maybe ask you, Alan, if you could sort of briefly talk about CoinTelegraph.
Okay, so basically, I want to clarify that we have private investors, and since CoinTelegraph is operating on in the cryptocurrency market, certain banks and governments usually could be pretty hostile towards the emerging cryptocurrency that could disrupt their business. So the investors, they would prefer to remain anonymous for as long as possible. And with that, I'd like to say that our content is completely autonomous. So our writers they pick and choose whatever they think is interesting. I don't censor them. Nobody censors them, and basically we're an independent media that's run completely on Bitcoin. Our staff includes Maria Jones. She's the general manager. I think most people are familiar with her. She's the one that goes to all the conferences and the events. And then there's myself. I'm in charge of guiding the content. And then there's our, of course, very talented creative director, Dennis Svans. He's the one that sort of started the whole comic book theme. And now there's also other artists as well. Like there's, I'm sure someone,
Jing Jing.
Jing Jung, right, and a few others. So they're all trying to get into the game and follow our style.
Cool. What was the idea behind that whole comic book thing? I mean, because it's really cool, and I think it's quite original. But yeah.
Well, besides just standing out and trying to be unique, one day we just tried it out and we liked it, and it was different than like CoinDesk, for example. That's sort of a standard news site, and yeah, we just wanted to do something different. And our yellow background, I think, does very well with those.
No, it's definitely a good idea, and it's something that, in fact, we've been looking for a graphic designer for a little while to do that kind of thing for our episode. It's not easy to find someone who's able to come up with cool graphical ideas to illustrate some content.
Yeah, I mean, we actually got really lucky that Dennis came to us and he sort of just drew something, and well, one of his first pictures actually resembled our current style, and we were just like, this is really cool, and we just ran with it.
So getting back to Cointelegraph, then there's, I guess, some people that are on staff there. So you're one of those people,
yeah.
And then there's also some freelance writers that perhaps come and go.
That's right. Yeah. So most of our writers are freelance, and they're based all over the world, and which is pretty, I would say, unprecedented. I think Bitcoin has allowed us to have writers all over the world, and with Bitcoin we could pay them, instantly, regardless of whether they're in the same office or 3,000 miles away. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't think without Bitcoin the decentralized nature of our business would work. Where, I mean, there's people all over the U.S. We have people in Latin America. We have people in Europe. So.
Yeah.
With all the banks and trying to pay all those kind of people without a digital currency like Bitcoin, I can't imagine it'd ever work.
Yeah, I think it actually enhances the news as well, because it gives us the ability to have a reporter almost in every time zone. Before this, when people had to pay their staff writers and journalists, they had to send them out, spend a lot of money that way. Now Bitcoin has allowed us to be everywhere, but not everywhere.
No, that's true, and I think what it enables, because this model already exists. There are publications out there that have writers everywhere around the world and manage to pay them, etc. But I think it just lowers the bar. It lowers the entry level so that smaller startups can do this. I mean, we're definitely part of that, and you guys as well. So. It's an enabler.
Yeah, it definitely lowered the barrier to entry for this market. Now pretty much anyone that has Bitcoin can finance operations across the globe, set up businesses that are global. And before, you really needed to be sort of a CNN to have affiliates all over the world, and I find that very interesting and very exciting.
And it works a lot better for, I'd say, for the writers too, because I mean, when you're freelance writing and you're writing for like text mill kind of sites or Odesk or Freelancer or something, they're taking a significant chunk out of everything, and this model works a lot better where you're just getting paid directly from the person, even if you're freelance, and once they send you the Bitcoin, it's not like they can exactly take it back or anything, so it's more trustful. But most importantly, there isn't that huge chunk being taken out by, those companies that facilitate freelance writing or freelance design work or whatever have you.
Yeah, I think definitely we've been seeing that happen with sites like Coinality, or where we're trying to replicate the Odesk model and bring Bitcoin into it so that you don't have that intermediary. I mean, we definitely started working with people on Odesk when we first started, and quickly like got them out of Odesk so that we can pay them directly. Some of those people were paying with Bitcoin, others were still paying with PayPal. But yeah, we wanted to get them out of there as quickly as possible, and they wanted to as well. You know, they also wanted to be able to get that cut for themselves. So something that I wanted to talk about with you guys, because this is something also that we're both doing, is talk about running a Bitcoin-only business. This is a new experience for all of us. We're operating in a world that is, for the most part, fiat-based. I guess for the large part, and we're doing this new thing, which is running a company on this digital currency that has some advantages. Like you mentioned, we have the ability to pay people very quickly and very easily. And I personally, feel as a business, I really find that it sort of empowers me to be able to find people, and there's a relationship there that it establishes, which is perhaps different from another type of business where you're going through a bank or through PayPal. There's sort of a common thread, which is Bitcoin. But there are some challenges as well. I mean, not everybody accepts it. There are other challenges, such as the fluctuation of the price. So, what are some of the challenges that you guys have seen in running your Bitcoin-only business?
Well, I'd say for the business side of it, probably Alan would be better to speak on that. I could speak after that on what's it like to be paid by a Bitcoin-only business and to live on.
Well, to be honest, I don't really do any like backdoor business deals. I'm only in charge of the content, and so as far as challenges with operating with Bitcoin, I've only seen positives, to be honest. I don't know, Ian, maybe you could pitch in.
I guess there's always the on-ramp, off-ramp of like I get paid now, I gotta wait 3 more days or 2 more days for the bank to change into fiat so I can pay my landlord or whatever. But I mean, I kind of like it. It makes it easier for me to save money anyways, because I'm not very good at that. And really, as far as downsides, I can't really think of much. Of course, I'd rather more places take Bitcoin, so I could just do it that way.
Well, one downside is, of course, we could, complain about the low price right now. And, actually, yeah, one of our writers, he's from England, and he's always complaining how he has to, with the price going down, and on and off ramps, he's always having trouble cashing out of the system. So, for example, if he has to pay back his student loans in cash, in fiat currency, it's difficult to do that right now. I mean, it's doable, but there's fees involved and all that stuff, so that's definitely a problem right now.
Yeah, I think that also reflects some of the problems that we've been having. Is it's the off and on ramp, and this is where you'll find roadblocks, and this is where we'll find fees. For example, if we want to buy something on a website that doesn't accept Bitcoin, we have to go through these hoops and loops to try to find, I mean, I haven't really found some really viable solutions, but prepaid credit cards and things like that. But one solution we were using actually they had to shut down because their banking relationship went sour. So yeah, I mean, we try to find, as much as possible, we try to find people and companies that we can work with that accept Bitcoin, obviously, but you're always going to have that friction as long as there are companies that aren't accepting Bitcoin, and as long as we don't have easy solutions for interacting with the non-Bitcoin world. And of course, then the problem is you're always going to have some sort of fee associated to using that service.
And I've been kind of lucky, if I lived in New York, maybe. Oh, sorry. If I lived in New York, maybe there'd be, my banks would be more cautious about, all these payments coming in from Circle or Coinbase or whatever. But also, I've seen some people complain about how like their banks have shut down or canceled payments, or Coinbase said looks suspicious or whatever. But I think when you're putting money into a bank account, they don't care as much as when you're taking money out and buying Bitcoin. Because my bank called me a while ago about something else, and they asked me if I had a job, and then the last job that they had on record for me, I had left like 2-3 years ago. And so this whole time they thought I was unemployed and just getting payments into my bank account from this mysterious Bitcoin company or something. And that didn't even make them suspicious, I guess, because the money's going in and not coming out. At least that's my little theory on it.
Yeah, I see what you mean, because I mean I'm also sort of an independent. I don't have a day job anymore, and I think at some point, especially here in France, where having a job is sort of like the most important thing, and it's required to get an apartment or any sort of like loan, or that's what they'll look at. Telling someone that you're trying to borrow money from that you get paid in Bitcoin is probably not the most reassuring thing.
Yeah, that's why all our operations, we try to do everything in Bitcoin. So because the on and off ramps are a real problem right now. One of our writers, I remember now, he was complaining that he has to keep his money in an online exchange because that way he can cash out. And those online exchanges, I mean, some of them right now are not very reliable.
But why wouldn't he just keep his money in a regular wallet?
You mean like off? Well, because he has to keep money in the exchange so he could cash out the money.
He doesn't live in America.
Yeah, he does everything through the exchange. I don't know, but again, the off ramps are a real problem.
And so, Alan, you're based in Latvia. How is it there, like in terms of on and off ramps?
Well, Latvia is not bad. I mean, we got Air Baltic accepting Bitcoin, a few cafes. We did a couple of articles on a few bars that are accepting Bitcoin. So I think it's definitely growing here. But again, like Ian said, if I lived in New York, if I moved back to New York or San Francisco, it would be a lot easier. Right now, in about a week, I'm gonna go to Amsterdam. And then go to Arnhem, the Bitcoin city, and check that out and see what I could do. And I'm gonna try to do everything Bitcoin there as well, no fiat.
Well, Amsterdam, you might be able to do quite a few things with Bitcoin, I think.
Yeah, I think it's like one of the best places right now to go if you have Bitcoin.
Definitely. Cool. Well, we've got lots more to talk about, but first, I just want to take a minute to talk about GEMS. So, we had GEMS CEO Daniel Pelt on a few weeks ago, and Brian and I are both really excited about this project. So this is it seemed natural for us to work with GEMS and to promote what they're doing. So GEMS is a social messaging app. It looks a lot like WhatsApp, but we like to think of it as WhatsApp on cryptocurrency steroids. So there's a couple things we like about it. The first thing is that GEMS encrypts all of your conversations. So this can't be said for a lot of the other social messaging apps and social media. I mean, of course, WhatsApp just said that they would start encrypting all conversations, but Facebook and all these other platforms, can you really trust where your information is going? So GEMS encrypts everything, and so that's really cool. The second thing about them is that they really take the full advantage of crypto, in the sense that it's also a Bitcoin wallet. So they have their own currency within the app that is called GEMS, and that you can share with your friends that are also using the platform. And when users first download the app, they also get a few GEMS immediately to start off with, and sort of get them accustomed to using cryptocurrencies. So that's kind of a good, an interesting step into bringing mass adoption and getting people used to using cryptocurrencies, building it into an app that is just really user-friendly and that serves a purpose, which is messaging, something they do every day. And third, GEMS is sort of designed incentives to facilitate growth. So by that I mean that when you invite someone and they get GEMS, well, that incentivizes people to get into on this network and build the network, and really incentivizes people to take a real stake into the project. So it when you get onto a platform and you're sort of participating in the growth of that and you have a real stake in it, well, that just makes you want to build the platform more and bring more people into it and really create value. And since you're a holder of that currency and that currency gets goes up in value, may go up in value, well, you're also you can also benefit from that. So that can't really be said for other examples like WhatsApp being sold for several $billion and all the users getting nothing. Yeah. So we really think, yeah, go ahead.
One thing about social media apps is I can't remember who said it first, but I'm not coining this. It's kind of old. But if you can't figure out what the product is, then you're probably the product.
I think Daniel Pell said that, actually. He might not have coined it, but he did mention it.
Yeah.
Right. And gems, I think we will. I guess the product is gems, and it's not the person using the product. So I think that has some value right there.
Yeah, and I mean the really interesting thing with this thing is, the advertising is, the user is paid to be advertised to. And I think that model to try to disrupt the existing advertising model, and that really kind of ties into what to the type of things that we're doing, is an interesting experiment, and I'm really excited about to see where that's going. So we really think that GEMS has a real shot in building a super valuable tool and taking cryptocurrency to adoption to the next level. So they're running a crowd sale right now on Coinify. It's been running since December 1st. It's going on until January 5th. So if you'd like to take part in that crowd sale, you can go to getgems.org, check out the project, and participate in the pre-sale. And so we'd like to thank GEMS for their support of Epicenter Bitcoin.
I actually can't find the app in the App Store right now.
Well, it's not out yet. That's the thing. It's in crowd sale right now in pre-sale, and the app will come out in January.
We had one writer, Cheryl. I don't know how to say her last name. It's like Hustle Up. Yeah, she wrote a really nice article on GEMS just recently. If you guys want to go check it out.
How it's trying to incorporate more female users.
Yeah.
Into the Bitcoin space.
Yeah, I think I read that article. But that is one of their strategies. Daniel kind of told us this off the record, off the air. But I think I could say this. But one of the ideas is really to make it an app that is appealing also to female users, right? Let me just look at their logo and everything. It's kind of, so I think that strategy is very interesting in the sense that they've really sort of tried to make an app that enables just regular people to get into the cryptocurrency space. So I hope more people will try to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So the next thing I want to talk about with you guys is sort of like the new business structures that Bitcoin enables, especially for content producers. This is something that Brian and I have been talking about a lot in our discussions. Right now, I don't want to say unfortunately, but we haven't really been able to come up with a way to really monetize our content in a way that would allow us to pay the bills, pay our suppliers, and also pay ourselves, because this is a business that we're trying to grow and make into something quite prosperous. So we've resorted to sort of the traditional advertising model. What are some of the things that you guys are doing to disrupt that, and how has that been working for you guys?
Well, right now we think Change Tip is one of the cool new features that we're trying to integrate. We have a general Change Tip icon, but we're trying to make a Change Tip for every particular specific author. So right now it would be really cool if somebody could just read an article, if they like it, and they could instantly, with one click, give a tip. And I think that's the future. And right now, of course, it's very small, but hopefully in the future, as the Bitcoin economy grows, that'll be one of the best ways to monetize, I think.
Yeah, I think since the at least as long as I've been on the internet, people have been talking about the coming micropayments or microtransactions, and it just never worked because of all the friction in it. So now we get to see what happens when there's virtually no friction on it, and will microtransactions work? And I think the Bitcoin ecosystem probably has to grow a little bit before it can work, on a mass scale. But I have hope that humanity will make little tiny donations work.
Well, this is something that we've thought about. I mean, we always ask people to tip us. I got to say, I mean, it hasn't really been successful for us. We do get some tips, but it's been nowhere enough to pay for hosting, or I mean, we've gotten so little tips since we started this. So to us, it didn't seem like a very viable option. But then again, other people have talked about how tipping really works for them. I think Adam B. Levine gave a talk at some point at a Bitcoin conference talking about how YouTube is broken and pitching this model where he puts out a change widget with a change tip widget with an individual QR code for everything he puts out everywhere he puts it out. That way he can not only get tips for every piece of content that he publishes, but also sort of track it. So it's got a sort of built-in analytics, which is interesting.
Mhm.
Well, there's some podcasts that have been out there for a while that even before Bitcoin that kind of have survived on the donation model.
Yeah.
One I listened to is Dan Carlin, just for an example, and he just started taking Bitcoin, but he's been dealing with PayPal this whole time before that. I think it's just a matter of like size, like there's not that many people into Bitcoin right now. Like as it gets bigger, if 100 people watch a show, maybe only one person donates, but if we just get it large enough that 1% is enough to pay bills, then I think that's the hope. But definitely things like change to make it easier, and that can only be a good thing.
How successful has that been for you guys? Like, if you can talk about what kind of tips are you seeing come in on your articles?
I would say not that many either.
Yeah, right now it's pretty insignificant, but I think the main strategy right now is to tip yourself. I mean, start using ChangeTip yourself, and do all the microtransactions. Send them via Twitter. I think that's the best way to get more people involved. I mean, they're gonna see tweets coming to them with 50 cents, 2 cents. It doesn't matter, but that's gonna get them into the Bitcoin space, and that will cause it to grow. And soon we'll be seeing much bigger tips and new ways to monetize. Yeah.
So what you're saying is, in order for more people to start tipping the Bitcoin,
you gotta tip them back. Yes.
You gotta tip them back. Yeah. So yeah. Okay.
Or you gotta be the first one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just coming back to gems real quick. I mean, I think that getting people accustomed to using cryptocurrencies is definitely one of those things that will sort of grow the ecosystem. What they're doing is definitely allows that to happen. Change tips also. Tipping someone who doesn't use cryptocurrency sort of forces them to, in a sense, start using it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's actually surprising how hard it can be, before change tip to get people to take money. As I went back to a political message board I used to frequent before I even knew about Bitcoin, before I started writing professionally, and try to get them to take Bitcoin, and like I just ran into like a wall of hate that. I mean, not like a wall of hate, but a wall of like skepticism. And it's like, no, I'm not trying to scam you. I'm trying to give you money. And
They didn't want your monopoly money, right?
They thought somehow I was gonna weasel a way to scam them out of giving. That's what I think. I don't know. Some people did take the money, but it was surprisingly. It took a while for them.
Now you guys are doing both. I mean, you're taking tips, but you also have traditional ads. I mean, when I say traditional ads, I mean the traditional CPM model where you put ads on the site. And moving forward, do you think what is the long-term vision there? Do you want to at some point try to get rid of those ads? How do you see that in the future?
Well, that would be that would be ideal. I mean, in the future, if we could self-sustain on just tips and funding from our readers, then that would be very good. Because right now we do have advertisements, and in the future we hope to go towards more the direct funding model.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to think that as much as we'd like to, the traditional ad model I think is really here to stay. I mean, as long as you have companies who are willing to pay money to people who have large audiences to talk about their products, I don't think that's going to go away. I mean, we may see some variations of that with Bitcoin. We may definitely see a shift towards paying the audience rather than paying some sort of central publication or like a central entity. But I really think that advertisers are not going anywhere.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. When I was in school, I remember teachers telling me not to become a writer because the internet had destroyed writing and there's no money in it. But what ended up happening was by the time I was an adult and ready to do it, there was such a demand for content on the web that it ended up paying for it. So I think it's still an evolving space, and I've seen some bad business practices at other sites, but CoinTelegraph has been fantastic and just let me write what I want and pay me well for it. So as long as that continues, I'm not going to hate on the model we have too much. But I would like to get rid of advertisers and everything. We see way too many ads in our life in general. But
yeah, I'd like to add that our advertisement is more as a way to gain trust in the ecosystem right now. So we would only promote companies that we use ourselves. For example, Shapeshift.io was an excellent product that could convert crypto to crypto without any registration. So I've been using that. That's really cool. And I do agree that the advertising model is here to stay. But what I envision is in the future, there might be a way to monetize clicks. So right now, for example, you have to click the change tip button. But in the future, that could all be automated. And when people just read articles, they could automatically send a microtransaction. Could be like a fraction of a penny, but either way, I think there's something in that technology.
Yeah, I think Andreas Antonopoulos was talking about what I thought was an interesting idea on the Joe Rogan podcast was being able to like set aside a budget for like articles or whatever, your media budget for the month or whatever, and be like $5, and it could give 2 cents to every article you read during the month, and then something like that. But I mean, that's kind of the future, I guess.
Yeah, I've got my doubts about that. I mean, there has been some talk about sort of automating. So for instance, like in your browser, you've got a built-in wallet where this is sort of the idea, right? Where you have money sort of set aside for media that you consume. I'm not sure that really works. In the last 15, 20 years, people have gotten so used to not paying for stuff. They've gotten so used to, not paying for stuff through advertising. I've got my doubts about that. I mean, maybe some variation of that, but I think maybe what would perhaps be more realistic in the future is where advertisers pay you directly. And that would force advertisers to really get to know the people they're advertising to, because you're not going to want to advertise to someone that's not going to buy your product, and that sort of forces the advertiser to really get to know what are your preferences, so that they make sure that they're advertising to somebody who might buy their products.
But at the same time, I wouldn't want to write about someone who had paid me directly. Even if I tried, my hardest to not let it influence me, I don't. Maybe I could, but then I don't think the readers would be able to trust that I could. I'd rather it go to Cointelegraph, and then Cointelegraph pay me because they like my writing, and they just want their ad next to it. I wouldn't want like Shapeshift to pay me to write an article about Shapeshift.
I think I may have. What I meant to say was where readers get paid directly by the advertisers.
Oh,
So
okay.
rather than the platform. So if you're watching
Oh, I see.
YouTube, for
Yeah.
instance, you're getting paid for your attention
Right. I
to
see.
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
ads.
I
Yeah.
understand.
But actually, Sebastian, I would disagree with you on the fact that people only seek free content because right now, if you offer quality content, I think it has shown that people do pay for it. For example, iTunes, Netflix. And if you offer high quality content, people don't mind paying for that. And I think they prefer that over going through the back door for some bootleg copy, for example.
So you think that
Uh,
quality content does force people to pay for it?
Yeah,
with a
absolutely.
big enough audience too,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and there's certain things you can do, like advertising wise for yourself, like kind of try to make your audience feel guilty or whatever for not doing it. I think we'll see more of that in time.
Yeah.
Come on, man, it's just $1. Just $1. All this free content.
Yeah, I mean, I actually with Change Step, I've seen. I never expected this many people to just give out money for free, but if people are tipping, I think they will pay for quality content. So,
So you guys are
It's
using,
still
yeah.
evolving though. Like all these different things that may or may not work. I think we should just keep trying them, and we'll figure out what works. Another thing that might, how we get paid is definitely going to change. Like um, musicians, I mean, I just heard this, overheard. I haven't looked into it, but from what I understand, they're getting paid more for concerts than they are for their like CDs now, with Spotify and everything making it so cheap. Uh, I think I don't need to be rich as a writer. I just want to be able to pay my bills. So if the new model doesn't pay, what it used to pay for someone who wrote for the New York Times or something, that's fine. But as long as it's more available to people, I think overall it's better.
Now I'd like you guys to talk about your automated payroll system. Alan, can you tell us about
yeah.
that?
Yeah, so ours is a meritocracy-based payment system. We get a set budget that grows, as we attract more viewers. So we have a sort of a common pie that all the writers share. And the way this is split up is based on the article's popularity. So the social impact. So for example, if an article gets a lot of Facebook likes, that article would give more money to the author. And similarly, if the article doesn't get any views, they get a very small percentage, if any. So, Ian, I think you could weigh in here since you're in our pie chart a lot.
Uh, yeah, it's it just gets split up. You get to see how much everyone made, which I guess some people would feel kind of weird about that, but it's best, I guess, for transparency. And it
Yeah,
does it based off Google Plus and Facebook and Reddit. And the only thing I have a little problem with it is I just think there should be a cap. Right now, there's no cap. So if one article does really good, it
yeah,
does really well.
it could
It
just take
takes a
off.
lot of amount, but
And so how do you protect yourself against like bots and things like that? I mean, how? Because I suppose there's lots of that too, right?
well, we had one guy that well, there was one bot on one shares that for one guy's article, and he's no longer with us. I think that's fair to say, but you know, usually you can tell when there's bots on Twitter because they're all the same or whatever. And I think we just have a great group of writers that, so far, other than the one exception, that hasn't happened.
Yeah, and I'll also like to add that this is not just for writers. This is our entire staff. So the editors and the artists, they're also included. So if an article does well, the artist also gets a cut. So it's very egalitarian in that sense and very transparent. That's what we're trying to do. And it's a work in progress. I mean, it's not perfect right now, but we're going to keep trying to develop a system and please everyone in the future.
And so, just as an order of example, if you write a successful article, how much can you make from a successful article? Like, or on average, or what? I mean, on average, how much would you make from it? Like,
I would say somewhere between like just for the writing, if I edit it myself or whatever, I get a little bonus. But between like 20 and 50 is pretty typical. But like I got on the Microsoft accepting Bitcoin article, so that one's over 200 right now. But that's not typical. Typical is 25 to maybe 75 or.
Yeah.
Would you say that's about right, Alan?
Yeah, that's about right. But the whole pie budget, it's fluid. So as we grow, so does the percentage that the authors get. So right now it's about, yeah, you're right. It's about 20-50 on average, but I would expect that, in the near future that number will go up.
And this is all automated, I suppose?
Yes. Well, look, I gotta clarify something. It's not like fully automated. You still have to confirm, so it's not like it doesn't just do it by itself. But it calculates all the stats automatically, so we don't need a accountant. So we save money there. Because before we used to, count all the words, and that took a lot of time. Now it's just fully automated in that way. And then at the end of the week, the writer, everyone sees what everyone got, and then the next day, the payments go out, and people just confirm it, and after that, they get into their wallet.
Now, has it ever crossed your mind, or has it ever occurred to anybody to maybe have CoinTelegraph currency with which you would pay your writers, but advertisers will also, I mean, LTB has been doing this, and I think others have been trying to do a similar thing.
Oh, actually, no, we haven't thought about that, but that's it sounds interesting. What do you think?
I mean, I think the idea is interesting, but I don't think the world needs another altcoin by us.
We don't want to get accused of a pump and dump scam.
I mean, not to say that about LTB or anything like that, but they got a lot of talented people over there. If I made a coin, it'd be a copy paste bullcrap coin. So, and it's just, Bitcoin's volatile enough to add another altcoin on top of that would have another layer of volatility, and then if it doesn't work out, then I'm getting paid in an altcoin that doesn't have value, and I'd rather. I mean, I like altcoins. I'm not. I had an altcoin column, but Bitcoin is like the one that's right now. That's usable right now. That I can. I can't like. I mean, I'm sure there's a place where I can trade. Whatever coin for into my bank account, but I'd have to switch it. And add a layer of complexity.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think. Sorry, I don't think a CT coin is too early in the game. I think right now Bitcoin is the preferred method of payment. So I think we'll stick that and grow our business model. And actually, we're gonna try to include, besides the writing, we're gonna try to automate everything 100% in the future, including business deals. So, for example. Like Ethereum is doing smart contracts. So, for example, we could take advantage of that by making partnership deals with those smart contracts. So we wouldn't need any intermediaries or anything like that, and that whole process will be fully automated. So that's what I'm looking forward to in the near future.
Excellent. Well, speaking of altcoins, I'd like to take a minute to talk about our next sponsor, Shapeshift, which you mentioned a while ago, Alan. I think you guys are also working with them. So Shapeshift, I mean, the best way I can describe what Shapeshift does is really to show you guys. We can talk about it for as long as we want, but a demo is always the best to illustrate something's utility. So Shapeshift is a website which allows you to easily convert Bitcoins into altcoins or vice versa. So maybe you want to buy some Litecoin or some Dogecoin, so they support Litecoin, Purecoin, Darkcoin, Dogecoin, Namecoin, Feathercoin, Blackcoin, and they're adding new altcoins all the time. So let's just do a screenshot here.
It's basically like Google Translate for altcoins.
Exactly. Hey, that's great. I'm going to use that. Google Translate for altcoins. So I think everybody can probably see my screens here. So here we've got the currency converter. I want to deposit Bitcoin, and I want to get Litecoin. And so I want to buy 0.5 Litecoin. I just put that amount here. And then I put my payment address. So this is my Litecoin address. I hit start. And then what happens? So Shapeshift is awaiting deposit. So it says, please deposit this many Bitcoins to this address. So I'm going to pull up my wallet. And I'm going to send a scan QR code. All right, found URL. Confirm. Send. And in just a few seconds, I will have Litecoin in my wallet. So it's awaiting exchange right now. God, I hope this works. So it's waiting. Should be receiving it in just a second. There you go, complete. So how long did that take? What, 30 seconds? Something like that? Yeah, so basically I was able to buy some Litecoins in about 30 seconds without having to create an account and an exchange, without having to give any of my personal information to anyone. This is completely anonymous. You stay private. Your information stays private. They don't even want your email address. You don't even need to create an account. It's super fast, super easy. And they only charge a small fee. So if you want to get some altcoins, or if you want to convert some altcoins into bitcoins or vice versa, go to shapeshift.io, give it a try, tell us what you think, and we want to thank shapeshift.io for the support of Epicenter Bitcoin. So you guys recently did something with Shapeshift, right? You had a contest?
That's right. So with Shapeshift, we have an article contest right now, and we picked the best 7 articles about personal bank horror stories. So everybody writes their own stories about their dealings with fiat and legacy banks. So you could check that out on our site. And we're on the 15th, tomorrow, we should get the poll up where people can vote for their favorite stories, and the winner of that will get 3 Bitcoins.
Yeah, I read one. I think it was from a German guy who was living in the States, and the bank wouldn't let him take his money out of his account or something like that.
Yeah, my favorite one was the one about the Syrian guy who everyone kept getting his name wrong, and then kept asking him for ID to clear a wire transfer because they thought he was a national security threat.
Lovely.
Yeah.
So we're just about ready to wrap up here, but before we do, I'd like to talk about independent Bitcoin media. We are both independent Bitcoin media upstarts, and there have been quite a few popping up. I mean, since Bitcoin is becoming sort of this new interesting phenomenon, a lot of people are interested in. People want to get into that and start talking about it. That's definitely one of the reasons why I started doing this podcast. Now, what do you think? What role do you think independent Bitcoin media, such as CoinTelegraph or Epicenter or others, play in sort of preaching the good word of Bitcoin to the non-Bitcoin world? Or does it stay closed? Does it stay closed in our own ecosystem? This is the question I often ask myself: is who am I talking to? Am I talking to Bitcoin enthusiasts, or am I actually doing good work in spreading the word to people who aren't involved?
Well, when I started in tech, a lot of people were telling me that I was good at explaining technologies. So when I came over, started writing about Bitcoin, I first thought that that would be what I would be doing, kind of, is trying to explain it to the layman of exactly, to get non-coders into Bitcoin. And still, that's kind of, I guess, our role. But I think also we're talking to the Bitcoin crowd primarily, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I just, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just it's primarily the Bitcoin crowd, the community. I'm just hoping that as the main driver of this would be the price. And if the price goes up like we saw last year, that's when a lot of newcomers, were introduced to Bitcoin. It was exactly last year when the price went over $1,000. So I think that is the main driver of adoption and getting more people on board. And right now, I agree that we're mostly talking to the Bitcoin crowd and with some spillover, hopefully.
And I think who mostly talks to the mainstream crowd are websites like or publications like the Wall Street Journal or Wired, places like that. And I would say if you want to help mainstream people understand about Bitcoin, you got to get them to hire some writers that understand Bitcoin. Maybe they poach some people from CoinDesk or from CoinTelegraph or something, and that'd be good for the community if it's then there's more knowledgeable people up at the mainstream levels. But I would just say when you see an article and it has misconceptions about Bitcoin, as a Bitcoin enthusiast, you should always try to point that out in the comments and shame the writer a little bit into doing more thorough research before he starts talking about Bitcoin.
Now, as a freelance writer, do you sometimes write for other publications that are not like maybe Business Insider or other publications that work with freelance writers?
No, I have, but then I started I'm writing a Bitcoin book called Bitcoin Guidebook with Skyhorse Publishing that should be on bookshelves. So before I got that deal, I was working also on a crowdfunding site called Stickblocks, and before that, a site called Social News Daily. And I could go back to that at some point, but right now, between the book and between Cointelegraph, I don't have the time to write about Kickstarter stuff. As interesting as Kickstarter stuff is, crowdfunding stuff, and I get to write about crowdfunding stuff in the Bitcoin space, obviously, but just general, look at this crazy gadget that's coming out on Kickstarter. I don't have time to write those anymore because I got more important stuff in Bitcoin and better paying stuff.
So where do you think the Bitcoin media world is going? Do you think that it's going to stay very focused on Bitcoin and sort of remain seated in that enthusiast crowd, or do you think that it will somehow bloom into something that's perhaps a bit more generalized, as also as cryptocurrency becomes a bit more of a becomes a technology that is used by more people, I guess the masses, although I don't really like that term, but do you think that it will bloom into something that's a bit more palpable for people that aren't Bitcoin enthusiasts?
Yeah, I started, not to say this again, but I started as a tech writer, and now that I'm in Bitcoin, I've kind of found myself as a financial writer, which was unexpected for me. So I think it's just going to be kind of a blending. If Bitcoin takes off like we all hope it will, and it's $10,000 a Bitcoin or whatever, and everyone's jumping on it, then all of a sudden, Cointelegraph is Forbes, or Cointelegraph is, the new version of places where people go for their Bitcoin news, which is like financial news, I guess. I don't know. It's definitely a tough question.
Yeah, it's really difficult to predict, but I've actually noticed more of the mainstream media outlets covering Bitcoin in a more positive light. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but I've noticed
I have.
Wall Street Journal writing articles with titles like "Bitcoin could disrupt banks" and "Bitcoin is the future" and stuff like that. So possibly in the future they will take over as far as the news goes. I mean, I don't know, but Cointelegraph and everybody else, I think, will bloom into something else, like you said. If that
And so
happens.
what is the long-term vision, sort of long-term plan for Cointelegraph?
Well, in the Bitcoin space, it's really hard to have a long-term vision. We all know how fast everything changes, and
Let's define long term. So,
yeah.
what, like a year? Can we even speak that far ahead?
Well, if we're talking about a year, then we hope to still be here.
Yeah, I would say our immediate goal, and no offense to these guys, it's a friendly competition, but I would say our immediate goal is to become the biggest cryptocurrency news website, and then we'll worry about the rest when we've accomplished that goal.
Yeah, right now we're just focusing on expanding our media group, getting more partners on board, and just helping the Bitcoin economy grow because we're not just reporting on the news. We're not some just outlet that's writing articles. We're actually a product of the new Bitcoin economy. We're completely, autonomous. We're only dealing Bitcoin, and so it's there's incentive for us to sort of help the Bitcoin space grow.
Yeah, and I mean, as the Bitcoin space grows, well, then that brings in new companies and it's sort of a new publications as well and new podcasts, and it's a snowball effect, right? So, I mean, I think, like you said, and this is an answer that we tend to get a lot is, what brings a lot of new people in? When do you notice like a slew of people coming into the ecosystem and coming in and downloading your wallet or coming in and reading your articles or whatever type of business you're in, and that is when the price goes up. So, so you mentioned partners and growing your network. So I understand so CoinTelegraph has been sort of acquiring and creating new properties.
Yeah. So for example, we partnered with CoinMarketCap. And a few other sites, such as I think it was Crypto. Yeah, do you know the other site?
Wasn't there a Bitcoin Barbie or something like that?
It was
I mean, I don't pay attention to that stuff.
CryptoArticles.com, for example. Yeah, so we just want to expand the media group and grow like every other business. You guys are actually trying to do the same, or no?
Well, I mean, so yeah, I mean, I think everybody knows now that we've partnered with you guys. Our partnership, for those of you who don't know, is what we've been doing is every Saturday we've been publishing sort of a summary article for the previous week's episode. So like our episodes come out on Monday, and then the Saturday. Right after we published like sort of like 600 to 800 word articles summarizing the content of the article, and that's been going really well for us. I mean, when we first started this, you guys approached us and said that you guys were thinking of doing a podcast, and I can't remember exactly how it went, and then we said, well, we could have you on, and then finally we we ended up doing this. So I mean, for us, it's been positive in the sense that it's been bringing new traffic to our website, which right now is not where we're driving most of our traffic. But as we're building a new site, and eventually we want all our traffic to go there and stop sending people to YouTube and other places like that. It's also been valuable in growing our subscriber base, especially on YouTube and also on Twitter. And just personally, it's been valuable in the sense that it sort of forces us to write every week about the content that we produce, which I think is really enriching on a personal level when you sort of have that deadline, because otherwise I tend to not write so much.
Yeah, I think, don't you actually like learn more about the subject when you write?
Definitely, yeah, definitely, and it kind of forces me to, because I mean myself, I listen to everything we put out. I always listen to the episode after it's been edited, but to listen to it and stop and think about what I'm going to say in this article, yeah, it really has been an interesting experience, and sort of forces you to think about these topics a bit more than when you're just talking about them in the podcast, so or listening to it after the fact. Well, how about you guys?
Actually got into CoinTelegraph because I wanted to write, because I know that would help increase my understanding of Bitcoin itself, because before I was, I just read the white paper and I thought this is pretty cool, but in order to sort of master it, you do have to write about it and read about it and research, and I found that writing articles really helped. So
yeah, when I used to write for text, I could pump out like 6 articles in a day. Bitcoin, that's impossible. So because when I started out, I was really behind, I think, on CoinTelegraph, and I would have to research like all day just to get one article out. And slowly but surely, I've been able to do it a little bit faster, a little bit faster, a little bit faster, just as my knowledge about cryptocurrencies have grown. Just every article, learn something new.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I said, I don't. I have these sort of periods where I'll write a bit more, not always about Bitcoin, perhaps about other things as well, and so it's always been hard for me to force myself to write about something, but having that deadline every Friday or Saturday morning, I know I have to send you guys an article. It's sort of is nice to be sort of kicked in the rear to write something. Yeah, but no, it's been for us, it's been valuable on all those from all those perspectives, and I think we want to keep we'll want to keep doing it for the long run.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's do.
Cool.
Well, I think we're just about ready to wrap up here. Is there anything you guys want to add? Anything you want to plug? Here's your opportunity.
Just I guess my book, Bitcoin Guidebook, coming out should be February of 2016, so it's a while from now.
Oh, yeah.
I
Okay.
can get the little bottom thing to work, but if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Ian DeMartino, which is DeMartino. Ian's IAN, so IANDEMARTINO. That's about it.
Cool. Actually, just want to tell you a little quick story from
Sure.
yesterday.
Yeah.
So apparently, I think I was the first person in New York City to order flowers with Bitcoin. So it was this place, website called AfterHourFlowers.com, and they were the first to. And if I'm mistaken, you guys could please tweet. They were the first, I believe, in New York City to accept Bitcoin, and I went on their site to order my mom flowers for her birthday, but their Coinbase API was broken. So I wrote them, and I'm like, you accept Bitcoin? And they're like, yeah, sure, we'll set it up. So it was to just give me an account, and I sent them the money, fully trusting them because I read the Yelp reviews that they're really cool. And yes, sure enough, the flowers did come, and I'm really happy about that. So shout out to AfterHourFlowers.com.
Awesome. So yeah, if you're in New York and you want to send flowers to your mother or your girlfriend or whatever, you could buy with Bitcoin. That's great.
It was a little disappointing because I did look at their wallet and it said 0 transactions, so I was definitely the first one for them. That's how I know. But yeah, hopefully I won't be the last.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot, guys, for coming on. It was really cool to talk to you guys about all this stuff. I think this is a conversation that maybe we should be having again in a little while to see how things have evolved. But yeah, it's a topic that I'm definitely very interested in. I think Brian is as well. So thanks, you guys. Thanks, everybody, for listening. If you want to support us, you can leave us a tip at epicenterbitcoin.com/tips. You can also subscribe to the newsletter at epicenterbitcoin.com/newsletter. And the newsletter right now, I mean, Brian's been sending out consistently every Friday. It's going to change a little bit, I think, in the next few weeks. We're looking at different ways that we can utilize the newsletter to tell you guys about interesting content that we write. Also, we haven't really been announcing new episodes when they come out, so we're going to be doing some new things there as well. What else do I want to add? Oh yeah, next week we have Vitalik Buterin who's going to be a guest on the show. So that is Sunday, December 21st, and I believe it is at the same time, so 1800 UTC. So if you want to take part in that, definitely join us for the hangout. I think it would be very interesting. I am just reading about proof of stake right now, and I think I'll be doing a lot of research this week to not sound like an idiot with Vitalikon.
Yeah.
So thanks again for listening, and we look forward to being back next week.
Great. Thanks a lot, guys.